There are still uncharted parts of our planet in the Arctic, where major productions like BBC and Nat Geo shoot their documentaries. I got the rare opportunity to show you what it's like behind the scenes to film wildlife here. I was so excited and nervous because I knew working with the legendary team at PolarX could change my life. I just made it to Longyearbyen, which is the northernmost town in the world, and I'm heading to the offices of PolarX. PolarX is the world's leader in polar filmmaking, and they've worked on some of the biggest movies and documentaries. Nobody else has as much expertise to film in the polar regions. They invited me to work with their team to document wildlife in the high Arctic. This was a rare opportunity to prove myself in the film industry, so I was desperate to capture a unique story. But before I set off with PolarX, I filmed my first Arctic wildlife in this remote town. My ship departs early tomorrow morning, so I've got the free day here in Longyearbyen, and I'm going to be exploring town, getting some supplies, and of course trying to find some wildlife. The barnacle geese are heading right towards me right now. This is so cool. I'm going to stop recording and just lay low for right now. So I actually got attacked by an Arctic tern today. It came up to me and pecked me right on the head. Don't get too close to a nesting Arctic tern. I am calling it a day. My ship leaves early tomorrow morning, but I did just get some epic shots of Arctic terns in flight. And I had a few black guillemots swimming towards me, and that was a lifebird for me. I had a great time in Longyearbyen, and I am excited to explore the rest of the archipelago. Bye-bye, Longyearbyen. This 10-day expedition started by heading straight north. The first couple of days were just the endless ocean and seabirds. Okay, so I'm pretty sure the two gull species I'm seeing right now are the black-legged kittiwake and the Glacier gull. Any gull experts, please correct me if I'm wrong. Just saw my first puffins of the trip. We wrapped around the northern tip of Svalbard, where I witnessed something that has apparently never been filmed before. Day 2 in Svalbard, and we're about to make our first landing.
Okay, then we swap the boats then.
I'm on an extremely remote island right now. I just saw an Ivory Gull land on this rock cliff, and so I'm trying to get above it and shoot down so I can get this beautiful river background. Ivory gulls are amongst the most sought after Arctic birds, and they're mostly silent. I followed this surprisingly vocal individual across the river and lucked upon this. Not many people have even witnessed this rare courtship display. I still needed to capture a unique Arctic story, but this behavior was a great start. Mission Ivory Gull was a success. I could take a nap, but I need to continuously scout for polar bears. It's a real challenge to get myself to go to bed. Sometimes the best light is between midnight and 2 a.m. here. We left the archipelago of Svalbard for a wilderness that is so far north that it's off the map. Today has been pretty slow. The weather has been really rough with heavy winds and big waves. We're continuing to head north, and by early tomorrow morning we're supposed to hit the pack ice. This is where we are. Start of the pack ice. want to avoid that red. That red is where the surface of the ocean is frozen solid into a vast sheet of ice, centered on the North Pole. This was my best chance to film a highly endangered animal. But wind and fog would make it near impossible to film them. This is the morning of day 4, and conditions are a lot better today than they were yesterday. The wind has died down quite a bit, and we're getting really close to the pack ice. I'm gonna scout for polar bears. Crash landing for me.
Crash landing.
Ah, Black Guillemot right there. It'd be fun to cruise around the ice, huh?
Yeah.
This is really cool. In this landscape, there could be polar bears, there could be walruses, seals, and the ice is constantly moving, so I can't stay on for too long. The creatures here all depend on this Arctic ice, which has reduced by 40% in the last 40 years. Her kingdom lies not on land, but upon the frozen sea. Most polar bears don't make it into adulthood. She has reached maturity because she's an excellent seal hunter. The Ivory Gulls also depend on seals, consuming what is left behind. Together, the bears and birds make sure no scraps are left behind. The landscape remains pristine. I just had the most incredible encounter with a polar bear. I was out on the Zodiac cruising around this drift ice. I'm actually looking at it right now. It's quite a way in the distance. I'll show you my camera. So after the polar bear sighting, we decided to come down south from the pack ice, and the rest of the day has pretty much been an ocean crossing. And right now, I'm just very much taking the time to relax and enjoy the Svalbard midnight sun aboard the Polar Explorer. I was up really late last night, probably till 3 a.m. trying to get these dramatic lighting shots. But it's up and at 'em early again this morning because we are close to a bird cliff where thousands of birds nest, and we're gonna go get a closer look.
You see that big one?
Yeah.
And you see when he's flying.
So many birds. This has got to be millions of birds. Not quite a million, but there are over 120,000 nesting murres tightly balanced on these cliffs. I recorded some audio. I'm going to cut to it right now and try and give you a sense of what it was like to be there. For seabird lovers, this is a spiritual place. It is entirely overwhelming. There's an intense moment where the murres all leave these cliffs for the sea. That would have been incredible to capture, but it's so hard to time, and we had to leave for our next destination. After a short sail, we arrived at an otherworldly island. The surface is covered in constantly morphing glaciers. So we're about 10 kilometers away from this massive glacier back there, and the water is a bit choppy right now, so I think it's going to be a rough ride, but I do think we're going to spend more time there tomorrow morning.
know PolarX was going to take me to Mars.
Amongst all this ice, there is one tiny piece of exposed land where a few female eiders landed.
They're being pretty skittish right now, so I'm just trying to sneak around, and they're starting to swim away though. Don't know if we'll get a good shot.
When they re-emerged, I realized why they were so cautious.
That's quite, it's not that many glaciers in the world where actually the waterfall's pouring out.
Oh, that's the actual waterfall.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That glacier wall is over 100 feet tall, with waterfalls pouring off the edge. But I only had one morning to try to film it.
We're about to cruise back on over to that glacier. We'll have to assess the conditions when we get there.
There is a complex river system on top of this glacier. These rivers are carved by the melting touch of the sun. It almost belongs to a distant, icy planet. This glacier is one of the last natural laboratories of its kind, studied as an analog for Mars.
Not that cold for Mars though.
No,
It's pretty decent temperature.
These glaciers are shrinking as the Arctic is warming. As we continued south, conditions allowed us to attempt a time-saving but narrow pass.
All high water coming here, press here, in that small here. And then you have high water coming up here too, and pressing against.
With the time saved, we made an extra landing. I have been fascinated by walruses since I found out that their calls were used to make the sounds of velociraptors in Jurassic Park.
So we're in Cap Lee right now, and we're about to go on shore. There's a big group of walruses, probably like 50 of them.
I just had to make sure that my equipment survived the ride over.
They seem very comfortable with me being here and getting some audio recordings.
Baby walruses make some of the most expressive calls, but we were too late in this season to see any. I did, however, see the northernmost songbird, and this icon of the winter holidays.
It is sadly time to leave Cap Lee. Okay, so it's day 8 on my Svalbard expedition with PolarX, and we haven't done too much today. We did get a chance to look around this one area that's not often visited in Svalbard, and it's a cool landscape. Most interestingly, I saw my first ever pink-footed goose.
The pink-footed goose is a long-distance athlete. They run like this for up to 15 miles. They were in breeding plumage, so I looked for a nest, but the visibility was just too poor. On our final ocean crossing, the realization that I may never come here again was sinking in. I still felt like I hadn't captured the unique Arctic story that I was after. But our last destination was a spectacular fjord, and one of the fastest warming regions on Earth. I was thinking of ways to show the changing landscape, because it will look very different in the near future.
I'm currently taking a time lapse because those clouds back there are moving pretty fast and there's these bursts of light coming down.
This landscape was carved by fast-moving glaciers. I've climbed glaciers before, but I've never been able to set up a glacier time-lapse. I wanted to show how this ice moves throughout the day, to represent the warming of the Arctic. But as I was getting ready to climb the glacier, we got an urgent call. So instead of going on the glacier hike, we actually have to go on a rescue mission. We've got to get ready super quick and head out. It was a boat that had beached itself and we had to pull it out. And Mikael is so good at navigating the Svalbard landscape. I know Andreas has worked on search and rescue before, that it went pretty seamlessly. We didn't have enough time left to climb the glacier and set up a time lapse, so we made a last desperate stop at a nearby coastline, a Hail Mary to capture my unique Arctic story. High up on these cliffs, there is another colony of nesting thick-billed murre. Soon, they will all leave their nests in a synchronized departure. With such limited time, we knew we were extremely unlikely to witness that. But there was a family of Arctic foxes on the shore. A father and his 1-month-old cubs. I followed them for my final hour. The cubs could play for hours, but they must be careful where they wander. Parasitic Jaegers aggressively defend their territories. The foxes retreated, and then their behavior instantly changed. His eyes became glued to the sky. My heart rate shot up. This was my chance to capture a unique Arctic story. So this cliff behind me has thick-billed murre chicks, and they have to jump off the cliff. They can't fly yet and glide to the water. This chick leads the way, with their parents shouting directions from behind. The chicks haven't learned to fly yet, and they must glide to the safety of the water. Meanwhile, he is waiting for the perfect moment. This young murre seems to be on track. But even the wind of a passing adult can change their path. I can't even imagine being 20 days old, dazed from just hitting the ground, and being chased for my life. But this is a much-needed meal for his family. Food is becoming scarce in the Arctic. His cubs must pack on weight to survive the winter.
At the perfect time because the chicks were leaving their nest for the first time, and most of them do make it, and when they make it, the parents are so vocal. It seems like they're just so happy that their chicks have made it to water and to safety.
The beginning of their life at sea. In the end, I'm very happy with my trip to the high Arctic, and while we were just a bit too late in the season to capture some of the wildlife behavior that I wanted to, we totally made the best of it, and I'm especially proud of that last wildlife sequence. I got some unique audio and some unique footage that I'm gonna try to showcase to some film producers. So we'll see how that goes. If you wanna follow along my journey as a wildlife filmmaker, please consider subscribing. I'm definitely gonna be working with PolarX on some more projects. If you wanna support Arctic filmmaking, you should really check out the company PolarX. I'll put their links in the description below. And thank you so much for watching.
And I'm the CEO of PolarX, which is a do everything polar. Anything that's cold and uncomfortable, we do.